Hello, everybody, and welcome to the May 10th Trips and Traps. Andy Serling, Eric Donovan.
Three races to bring you on this episode of Trips and Traps, a couple turf races, a dirt race. We'll get things started off with the 6th race from May 2nd. This is a New York bred maiden special weight for fillies and mares going 6 on the turf.
Well, hard to find a lot of races considering the weather we've had, but wanted to talk about a few horses in this race. One was hurt by dynamics, one was helped by dynamics, and one just had a little bit of sort of semi-hidden trouble we wanted to show. This is the 3-horse, a first-time starter here. The screen is red, who finished 2nd. You've got the 8, Hey Little Girl, for Joe Lestrito, first time in the turf, who has some trouble in the stretch primarily. And you have the 13, White Glove, coming off a layoff for John Kimmel, that ultimately ended up getting too aggressive a ride, and I think ran the best race.
Yeah, I think so, too. I think White Glove, who was sent off the 5-2 favorite in this race, certainly was a deserving favorite and certainly deserved to win this race based on the dynamics here. The pace is pretty quick here. The turf course listed as yielding, as you said. You know, we had some rain last week, and 21 and 4, 45 and 4, the opening fractions for this race. And the race collapses a little bit. You can just see the horses running 1, 2, 3. You know, when they come down to the stretch, you're just going to give it up a little bit, and the race is going to set up for closers.
Yeah, they finished 7th and 9th, I believe, the horses, other 2 horses on the lead. White Glove is making the lead. Behind the 3-horse, The Screen is Red, is getting that absolutely perfect trip and a perfect ride by Javier Castellano. So you've got those 2 up front. But here is the 8. That you want to take a look at this horse a little bit, Hey Little Girl, because she's going to definitely get in some trouble.
She does get in some trouble here. I don't know how much of her trouble should be negated by the fact that the race does collapse and her favorite horse is coming from off the pace there, but does get shut off there, comes to the outside and re-rallies a little bit. Only gets beat 2 3/4 lengths at 70-1 plus here, and you'll see the winner of the race, Lady Wild Court, who came from behind, edging ahead of White Glove there. And the 3-horse, The Screen is Red, who we thought pretty much had a perfect trip in this race, and a horse that a second-time starter for Chad Brown next time out is going to take some money and may not be so great.
Yeah, I agree with you. I'd like to see The Screen is Red and White Glove look up in the same race and be the same price, because clearly White Glove seems to have run a much better race. I think that's what I come out of this race, because White Glove's not going to be much price. I think the best thing you might get out of this race is maybe you want to throw Hey Little Girl in. You make the decision, dynamics versus trouble. But The Screen is Red, to me, is a horse that may be a bit of a trap. Not a trap because she had trouble, just a trap because the horse had so much go his own way.
Second race we'll bring you is from May 5th, also on the turf. It's a mile and an eighth on the inner turf course. New York bred non-winners, 1 allowance. We're going to take a look at the 2 Unbridled Command, the 4 Ampersand, and the 6 Fox Rules.
These mile and an eighth races, and you're going to see the unbridled horse on the inside. Ampersand is in here. They'll all actually end up going to the rail. The good thing, though, for Fox Rules is that Fox Rules is the one that goes to the lead in here. And these mile and eighth races, and we've talked about this over and over again, they're such tricky races here at Belmont Park because they'll go a little bit quickly out of the gate, and I think it causes too many riders to get confused and end up grabbing their horses, and then they slow it up dramatically around the turn in the backstretch, and the horse that seizes the proverbial bull by the horns and goes to the front and is aggressive is so often rewarded in these races that I'm surprised that more riders aren't attuned to it.
Well, we do see it a lot, a mile and a 16th, mile and an eighth on the inner turf course, just the way those races are laid out with the turns coming up quickly, or in the case of a mile and a 16th, the race starting on the turn, is that it's a natural decelerant for these horses. It'll just slow the pace down even more, seeing as how that turn comes up quickly for them, and see a lot of races that look like this, where the top 3 horses right now are going to be tough all the way through.
And it badly compromises horses that try to close, as well as helping the horses up front. Now, Unbridled Command had a pretty cozy trip on the inside and angles out, and I was unimpressed by the performance of Unbridled Command. It was a Tom Bush horse coming off a layoff. Now, maybe he needed a race in here, but I got to tell you, I'm gonna take another shot against this horse, I think, and I'd like him in this race actually if he shows up when he shows up in the same condition, because I was not impressed. It's not as though he's badly compromised where he is. Ampersand certainly more compromises. He makes that move up on the inside much earlier in the race to get into contention, as Fox Rules is just getting everything his own way in the front end, and good luck to him moving up in class and beating a field. He had so much his own way.
He did have so much his own way, and you saw Ampersand beneath Alan Garcia, who I think made the right move there, getting the horse into a little bit more of a contentious spot going around the turn, and you see the 2-horse Unbridled Command, who's down inside here. Unbridled Command, King Creasa, who was a long shot, or a 10-1 shot in this race, up on the pace the whole way, and Ampersand going to finish right together in the stretch behind Fox Rules, who's the 2 1/4 length winner here. Really no excuse for me for Unbridled Command not to finish second in this race.
I don't disagree with you. Ampersand saves all the ground. It was a good move by Alan Garcia on Ampersand this race. He ends up finishing 4th and finishes just behind Unbridled Command. Now, he saved all the ground, but Garcia realized, I better get myself into position, because unlike a lot of other turf races, these mile and eighth races are very much decided around the 5/16, 3/8 pole. Suppose a lot of turf races you want to conserve and try to make that last run. These races, man, you don't get yourself into position, or you aren't in position because of the dynamics, which so frequently feature slow paces. You're just really behind the 8 ball, to say the least. And looking at these races, because I don't think you'll see a lot of horses run the mile and eighth races and then run back in a mile and eighth race here, because we don't run that many of them. And then if you go to a mile to 16th race in the Widener, it's a completely different animal. You can get a horse that's compromised by trips, but gets the same ride in the mile 16th race and can win.
Yeah, that's a good point. I think you look for those little switches in courses and distances here on the turf courses at Belmont. Of course, you have 2 great turf courses here, and give us a lot of options in terms of distances we could run. It's a lot of fun. We'll get to the dirt race now. It's May 6th, race number 5, a New York bred $20,000 maiden claimer for fillies and mares, going 6 furlongs. Long shot I'm interested in here is the 2 La Busta, who finishes 5th at 54-1.
Listen, there are no killers in this race. We're well aware of that. But listen, we're going to run a lot of these cheaper maiden races, and you can find horses that might be a little bit dirtied up and might be a little better than they look. And I think Eric's point with La Busta is a horse coming off a layoff that had a little bit of trouble. Now, I don't think the rail, and we're going to watch here because La Busta is going to steady very soon as they hit that break of the turn. Being pinned down on the inside, and this should be a lesson to some apprentice riders, will get you in trouble here at Belmont, as it will at Aqueduct. Just because the turns are wider doesn't mean you can't get in trouble at the break of the turn.
Now, you don't think the rail was bad on this day? I thought the track was pretty even. On the other hand, this is a horse that is down inside the whole way, never gets a breather, has a little bit of trouble, has to steady a couple times, and I think just being down on the rail, probably not the right place for this horse, whether or not it was or wasn't the place to be on this day.
And listen, the horse broke from the inside, and I think this rider, Jose Ortiz, shows an enormous amount of promise. He's clearly an apprentice that's going to have a future, but he gets himself sort of caught between a rock and a hard place, inside and behind horses. Apprentices are told to save ground. People ride apprentices. They want the weight, save the weight. They want to save ground. It's a mentality frequently of the people that use them. And I understand those things. I just don't happen to agree. I think that saving ground at Belmont Park can be fool's gold. This horse seems a little intimidated going through on the inside. And we're not saying that it was some massive kind of trip, but La Busta, I think, could be argued, sort of outran her odds a little in this race.
I think so, and I think that the reason why I wanted to do her was because she's off a layoff. She hasn't run since September. She was 54-1. If this horse never got on the screen and never made a move and was never involved in the race, you wouldn't be surprised at all. Just the fact that she was off the layoff, first start back off the layoff, I thought she showed a little bit more than what she showed last year. Could possibly be a horse that moves forward next time out.
Yeah, and I mean, that's what you have to look for, and I don't think this is about sort of saying you want to run to the window to bet La Busta, but you look for subtle changes in horses, especially horses coming off of layoffs, and we'd like some help from you anytime you can get it. Hopefully the rain seems to have stopped. It's Thursday morning, and hopefully we'll get back on the turf Friday, Saturday, Sunday, have some more races for you next week, but with your help, we can fill them up. Trips and Traps at NYRAInc.com.
Thanks for watching.